danger to the rule of law. He talks about the attempted occupation of private property, which has put the country on the brink of the precipice, as was the case immediately and before the 2007 election. And the Ministry of Interior also says that the CS, Professor Kindiki Kithure, shall be issuing policy directives to the Inspector General of Police, which directives shall take effect on the 31st of March, specifying, among other issues, measures that the police shall take to ensure public safety during demonstrations of any type, enhancement of security of all Kenyans and foreign nationals lawfully in Kenya to ensure that no person is exposed to insecurity, investigations and accountability of all those who are found to have committed any criminal acts against any person or property during those demonstrations, provisions of security to all persons whose private property has been violated and or looted, all streets, estates and neighborhoods in Nairobi, Kisumu and any other place where there are reasonable grounds to believe that violent protests may erupt, and round-the-clock security to ensure that law-abiding persons go about their activities. So we get that policy direction from the CS. Musamali, from the statement that we've seen from the Cabinet Secretary of Interior, what do you make of it when you're looking at the issue of national security right now?
If I look at it very closely, it reminds me of the Amin days in Uganda. Because at some point, Amin made a pronouncement and said, the Constitution guarantees you freedom of speech, but it doesn't guarantee you freedom after speech. And this is exactly the picture that I'm seeing here now. Because it's clear that constitutionally, Kenyans are allowed to picket, Kenyans are allowed to demonstrate. And the cornerstone of any democracy is that freedom. Though at some point it's not smooth sailing, it's not plain sailing, especially for the security apparatus, because they have to do a very difficult balancing act. These protests normally will come with a lot of disruption to communities, a lot of disruption to businesses, as we've seen for the last 2 weeks. But already when he's talking about policy, we have the law that is supposed to be a guideline of the police of how they're supposed to operate during this kind of activities, because clearly the police have a role to play. Police are not supposed to come up and manage crowds. Police are supposed to not supposed to come and control crowds. Police are supposed to come out and manage crowds. What we need to focus on is this constitutional? Is it legal for people to protest? And at what point do we now say these protests have become rioters? Remember, we have legal protests, but at the same point, when we are going on with these protests, they now change face and become rioters. This is now when we need police intervention in controlling the crowds. But as it is right now, we are at that point whereby people have said we want to come out and have peaceful demonstrations. Right. What is the role of the security apparatus in this case?
We have Article 37 of the Constitution that allows for peaceful picketing, but we do know that this is backed up by a subsidiary legislation, which is the Public Order Act, which then gives and states the requirements and how it should be done. But also just recently as well, the CS, the good CS, had mentioned that there are planned proposals to increase legislation to just make it a little bit tightened up when it comes to the issue of protests and petitions as well. The number of picketers that we're going to see, those organizing the protests should have a clear outline of the routes they're going to take, and so many other things that I think came up from that statement. Is this the way to go? Do we need more legislation?
I don't think we need that, because what the CS is trying to do is to suffocate Kenyans. I've been in the service. I worked in the police for 10 years. We've been controlling these crowds. It's not something that has not been done before. Right. And that is clear why we are told whenever you're planning a protest, you need to visit the nearest police station. Why do you need to visit the nearest police station? Talk to the OCS, not to ask for permission to protest, but so that you people can sit down and agree. The police will come up with their conditions, you people will come up with their conditions. Get a middle ground and say, for example, the police will tell you, okay, you want to protest, but not within the CBD. Right. We will want you to protest along this road, get to this point. If you want to give us a petition.
So this is more about planning.
It's more about planning, because what we've witnessed is that the police failed to plan. They did not plan. And this is why you are seeing that every other time we have confrontations between members of the public and the police. So who is breaking the law here? That is the question that we need to
answer.
answer.
I'm going to pull out the Public Order Act as well. I think it mentioned something to do with that the organizers should be able to give clear plans, their own plans,
to
and
the
then
police.
that should align
to the police.
To the police.
Because if you go to the police station and the OCS tells you, no, I'm not receiving you.
Okay.
I mean, what is he doing? Who is committing an illegality here?
Right. Yes, Prof.